Good afternoon. Orúkọ mi ni Olúgbẹ́rọ̀ Bello àti ìlú Èkó ni mo ti ń bá yín sọ̀rọ̀.
Hey, greetings everybody. This is Amma Bookman.
And we are Ilé Ẹ̀kọ́ Ọmọlúàbí, promoting African development through the restoration of African ethics, philosophy, and culture in the Yoruba tradition.
Really excited, team, to have you guys with us to have our conversation with Ntsiki Mawai. I'm so sorry. Or AKA African Street Queen. She is a musician, poet, a spoken word performer, and a beat artist. In addition, she's an author and an activist who spends her time visiting inmates in prisons and giving talks in school.
Wow.
We're going to have her social media links available in the description, and I highly encourage that you follow her. I follow her online, and I always find that she's got something insightful to say every day. She is unapologetics in her topic of Black liberation. And recently, the reason I brought her here today is she spoke about the clicks controversy. And if you don't know what it is, I would like to right now share a quick screen with those of you who've been, who are not up on this issue, so that you kind of get a sense of why we're having this conversation. So give me 1 second. I want to show you this ad that ran a while ago. Let me know, guys, if you see my screen. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, wonderful. So this ad ran a little bit over a week ago. I think now we're going on to 2 weeks. And it basically was advertising Treseme's hair product. So as you can see in this ad, you've got a Black woman with dry, damaged hair, another Black woman with frizzy, dull hair, and then I'm not sure if fine and flat hair is supposed to be a good thing, because that doesn't seem like those are good descriptions either. But clearly, then you have a white woman with normal hair. And that's the hair that, is straight and long and, hangs down instead of up. And so, of course, when this ad was initially went out, there was a lot of controversy. It was trending on social media. EFF came out front, called for a boycott, called for them to shut down for a week. And there was a lot of conversation about it. Well, the reason you came to my attention is because you kind of took this conversation in a slightly different direction. So you didn't necessarily just focus on the controversy, but on our choices as Black women. And so, but before we get into that, I want to know, what was your initial reaction when you saw this ad? How did it impact you? And how did you emotionally, intellectually, even politically, how did you engage it before you even get into Black women? What was your reaction?
The thing is that when you have, this is not a new conversation for me. I have been boring my community for the past, I think, 15 years on the same topic of, guys, the hair issue is actually an identity issue. It's actually an issue that is impacting us economically, and it's impacting our society as Blacks as a whole. Because we know that in African culture, we come from a matriarchal lineage. So our men follow women, actually. It's not the other way around. As much as the Bible has taught us otherwise, but in reality, in single parent homes, it's women leading homes. So you can see that women are in the forefront of leading the Black community. Therefore, if women are wearing other races' hair, it's trickling down and giving birth to an African that has no identity. So for me, it was a conversation that we as women have been needing to have for the past like 20 years, since colonialism happened.
So almost when you saw it, it wasn't so much about what Clicks is doing, what this corporation is doing, but focusing on us as a people, what we are doing and who we are.
I was saying that our behavior has enabled whiteness to do as it pleases. It was, for me, it wasn't, I was more offended because there are so many women in weaves than I was at the Clicks advert, because me myself, I can't relate to that advert because I've never wanted hair that looks white. For me, that perception of hair being beauty has never been like, it's not something I want. So I wasn't offended or didn't take it to heart because I already feel like my hair is beautiful. But the problem is that majority of black girls don't feel that their hair is beautiful, and that's why it was provocative for them. And that's why I'm saying, actually, guys, let's start having the conversation as to why was it provocative for you, and let's talk about the experience of the dark-skinned black girl. Let's talk about being in primary school and learning about Cinderella and Snow White, and there was no beauty epitome for black girls. There was no Afro Cinderella or a dark or a synonym for Snow White. So we need to unpack what colonialism has done to us and just our self-esteem, and
True.
why we would be affected by that advert.
Great. Well, sister, so we also observe that it's our black women that were also pushing back against your position. Why is that? Why is that so?
It's because it hurts. It's a scab. It's a sore. It's not positive that we can't just wake up in the hair with our hair, whatever it looks like, and go out. It's not positive that when it's time to wear our wedding outfits, we have to think of getting a weave. It's not a positive thing that when we go to the work system, for our hair to be considered neat and professional, we have to straighten it or it has to be a weave. So it doesn't resonate in a positive space. So I think for me, I'm frustrating the black girl because they think it's not my fault that I'm in this position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's an interesting segue. So you say, they are saying it's not my fault that they're in position. And there are a lot of reasons that black women give. But one of the main ones that I saw people pushing back against you was they were saying, hey, this is not a sign of self-hatred. It's not a sign that I even dislike my hair. There are a myriad of reasons. Maybe I just want to mix things up. How do you respond to the mix things up argument?
I think that black hair is very versatile. In fact, it's the most versatile hair on the planet. So it's a bit jarring that when you want to mix things up, it means wearing other races' hair. Especially when I'm seeing that no other race in the world is fighting over themselves to wear your hair. So I'm like, let's actually have a little bit of dignity about this. It's actually a little bit embarrassing that we're wearing other people's hair and other people don't want to wear our hair. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely, right? So I've never heard this mix things up from any other group of women, right? And can you imagine, I'm trying to imagine right now a blue-eyed blonde woman coming to work wearing a big Afro wig, which by the way, they sell them, right? So people talk about they want to mix things up. They do sell Afrocentric looking hair wigs and weaves, and those are very unpopular. I'm trying to think, white woman saying, well, listen, guys, I just want to mix things up. So I'm going to put on this Afro. I can't even imagine it.
You understand? That's why I'm like, ladies. This is like a mad embarrassment moment where you just this is so blind, guys. It's like, just take it off and let's go. Anyways,
well,
yeah.
Interesting. So, sister, a number of people felt that they should be free to make their choices as per the hair they put on, and that the focus should be on clicks. What would be your reaction to that?
Obviously, I do feel that businesses in any country have to be culturally sensitive. And I think that it's good that Black South Africans taught clicks a lesson and how to be amongst Black people, and that we expect a certain standard of respect, right? But then again, at the same time, I'm like, if you expect a standard of respect, then also respect yourself. You know, you wouldn't be in this situation if you were not wearing other people's hair and giving them the leeway to think that their hair is actually the standard of beauty. Give them competition with your own hair.
Right. And also, what was weird to me about that whole ad of like, Black women use Tresemme? I just, I I don't know, that doesn't work on my head. So I would have felt like that wasn't even being sold to me, right? I mean, other than to degrade us, because I didn't know we used Tresemme like that. So you were the only one, who had it. So one of the things that I saw was kind of going in your direction was there was this 2-month challenge trending on Twitter where people were saying, and they were showing pictures of themselves, beautiful pictures of themselves wearing their hair and saying they are committed to wearing their natural hair for the next 2 months. What do you think of this challenge?
I think it's sad. I'm like, when are you going to commit to not wanting to wear other people's hair? When are you going to commit to that? I'm just like, you keep doing these little moves that you think are, but you're not challenging yourself. You're not getting out that comfort zone. You're not challenging whiteness. You're still playing along and coddling whiteness. So I'm just like, we're going to have another click situation in 8 and 12 months' time again.
And another check. Maybe it'll be a 4-month challenge. And I was ambivalent about it because on one hand, I kind of felt like, well, maybe in that 2 months, people will have an awakening. Maybe they'll realize, hey, I can save myself tons of money by not buying weaves. Maybe, like not having this big hot thing hanging on your head might, feel kind of nice as well. And they might.
I don't know why they do that.
Right. On the other hand, I'm like,
when the brainwash is so deep.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, when the brainwash is so deep, you're willing to be uncomfortable for it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's hot and you're doing this thing where you're tapping your head and it looks like you've got lies. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, wow, we don't have to do this anymore. We really don't. Like,
right.
Wow, yeah, so there's a lot to do with our media spaces, also the type of celebrities we endorse and hail. It's time for us as a people to actually be quite vigilant about, no, actually we are only going to hail people with a real hair. We only want the real now because all the other races are coming in with real people except for us. We're all in our clown outfits.
Wow. Okay. Okay. But what of instances where maybe women feel that, well, they want to preserve their hair, maybe they don't want to put any treatment for a while, so let me just have something I can use to cover maybe for just a few weeks or so. How about that?
Protective styling.
Like you don't want to treat your hair or whatever, you don't want to apply any cosmetic, and just want to wear the weave. I didn't get you.
No, that's still an excuse. You're still hiding. You don't have to do anything to your hair. You can just leave your hair. You can wash it and put moisturizer every morning, just like how you wash and you moisturize your skin every morning. You can do the same with your hair. It's not serious.
Okay, but so sometimes
you can say, "This is me, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I look like," because all the other races are showing up as themselves. The other one's hiding, saying, "Oh my God, good enough. It's not good enough. I need to hide this. I need to protect it. Protect it from what?"
Harsh weather.
So
protect it from harsh weather.
I hear you. Okay, great. But sometimes when people are going to work, they want to resume, and in their place of work, they have this code of conduct which deals with how their hair should appear when they come to work. And so the kind of hair you just described, there are some people who work in places that it will be like a violation of their company's code of conduct. They don't wear it in a particular way.
No, we need to challenge these rules that are racist. We need to challenge the rules that are racist, that are saying that our hair is unprofessional. So the other races can come to work in their normal hair, except black people must now change what they look like to come to the office. No, that's crazy. The problem is in changing the system. And you say to white people, this is what we look like. That's why I'm tired of black people cowering behind weaves and braids. Let's all show up in our real hair so that they can get used to what it looks like, and they will know this is professional, this is what beautiful is, this is the new standard, and they will adapt to what we actually look like, and we will not be adapting to whiteness.
Yeah. So, you know, we talk about protective styling, we talk about professionalism, but, you know, I saw some honest women online who just said, I feel more confident. And actually one tweet I got, I wish I had captioned it. She said, admit it, you feel more confident when you have that weave on. How do you respond to that? Like,
what's sad, isn't it? That's what the sad part is, that we have been indoctrinated so much that we believe that we look better in somebody else's hair.
mm-hmm.
That's deeply, deeply sad, guys. It's not a compliment. It's not, again, I point to other races. Nobody else is wearing other races' hair, guys. It's only us. And why are we feeling insecure when we are in our normal hair? Other women don't go through that. They don't have to put on other races' hair like us.
Right?
Okay, let me speak for the brothers. So sometimes in Nigeria, the brothers tell, look, I don't like that. The brothers want that European looking hair, and that's what the ladies will do. How do you say, what do you respond? What's your response to this?
Disgusting. It's disgusting, and I'm disgusted that grown black men are fantasizing about white women and hiding behind black women and using black women to hide that insecurity. If you want to be with a foreign woman, then do so happily, gladly so, but don't abuse your kind of woman because you are not man enough to stand up and say, actually, I like white girls, right? Just rather own up to that, but don't abuse your own woman. I just feel like a cycle. I'm like, it's cycle that you have believed that whiteness is better than blackness, and you as a man, you call yourself a man. Like, I'm just like, wow, okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, anyway.
Here's another issue. This is a big industry, multi-billion-dollar industry, and a lot of black women spoke about the fact that, hey, we're supporting our family on selling the hair, weaving the hair, styling the hair. You're trying to put us out of business. How am I going to feed my kids? How do you respond to that?
No. The hair industry is not going to go away just because the weave is gone. We will learn new ways to play with our own hair and make nice hairstyles with our own hair. The hair industry is not reliant on weaves, guys. No. And if you want to have weaves, then have weaves that look like your own hair. Don't skip a race. You'll be skipping an entire race and giving yourself another race today. Rather focus on what other women are wearing weaves that look like their own hair. We're the only race that is wearing weaves that look like other races' hair.
Okay, so let's imagine a beauty contest, and you're contesting for Miss Universe, and you want to put on your natural hair. What will you think the reception will be?
Miss Universe at the moment has got natural hair, and I think that it was a very good lesson for us to learn that we can be ourselves and still be the most beautiful in the universe. So the problem is in that brainwashing of why do you think that wearing white people's hair is beautiful and that's worthy of called beauty and be put on beauty pageants, and then you think that your own hair is lesser and should not be on that platform. There's something wrong with that thinking, is there not?
Since that happened, actually, have you seen a trend towards natural hair? Did she have an impact? Are more people embracing their natural hair since Miss Universe, since the woman from South Africa?
Well, some people did. I just think that we can't keep doing it little bit by little bit. I think that we're supposed to be actively engaged in programs to undo the brainwash, because we were systematically taught that we're not good enough. On all the media channels, we would only see a certain type of beauty. So we haven't done anything to counter that. So until we have programs that are ongoing and continuously ongoing, the black girls are going to be confused because Zodi might win Miss Universe, but Beyonce is gonna come along with all the money that's behind her and make the black girl into the diva again. So for me, I'm like, no, guys, this is something we're gonna have to keep working at. You don't just like if you want a hot body, you don't just do it up for one night and then it's something you work consistently at. So I just think that black people, this conversation is gonna keep hurting until we confront it.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so maybe I should just go a little bit out of the hair issue. So in Lagos now, so I'm wearing a native attire right now. If I'm to go to some office, maybe a bank in Lagos, I'll be expected to wear suit, a jacket, and a trouser. Now, my weather here is about 30 degrees Celsius, and I will still have to wear something that will bring more heat to me. I mean, so it seems the issue of hair or whatever is symptomatic of a much more deep-rooted problem of identity. How can we really solve this problem? Because it's manifesting in different ways.
Yes. Once we start having these conversations where we're admitting this is happening, and actually, guys, it's too hot for us to wear suits. When you see the way they dress in Europe, it makes sense to the climate. So what is it about us that is so insecure that we can't even dress according to our climate? You know? I don't know, for me it's important that we keep having these conversations to find who we are, because there was damage done to us. There really was. We even went to their white schools and we were damaged further in their white schools. We went to their churches, we were damaged further in their churches. So what are we doing now to undo that? What churches do we have to counter those churches? What schools do we have to counter that? What schools of thought do we have to counter what we've been taught?
No, I mean, what tools do we have? Can you help us? How are we going to get out of this?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, please.
Yeah?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that it's high time we look at how other nations have gotten out of it. You know, like the Chinese were at the bottom of the food chain, and now they're a superpower in the world. And that's because they shut out the whole globe and focused on their own culture and themselves, and they built their own identity. And we've seen it happen. So it is a matter of actually black people, we're gonna have to stop being house niggas and relying so heavily on white acceptance, and we're gonna have to come together as blacks and start having conversations as blacks to be like, Ghana, who are we guys? And how did we used to do it before we were colonized?
True. Yeah. So I'm also thinking, so many of these challenges, be it air, be it dressing, there's also the economic connotation to these things. So if for the kind of organization I spoke about that will require you to wear your hair in a certain way or dress in a certain way, you probably find out, oh, this is a company that has foreign investors, right? You have a big company that has some foreign interest in it. So they bring their policies. So they introduce all this their culture into their company policy. And these are the highest paying organization in your country. So you find out that people, because of course, the paycheck, they tend to just go to these organizations so that, and that's where you have to now conform to these things that kind of demean and or reduce our own value in our own eyes. So maybe I'm just thinking, I want to hear your thoughts about it. We need to have a way of also developing our economy as outside, what these guys bring to us, because it's like through the channel of economy, they also try to impose other undesirable elements into our ways of life.
That's the thing. Oh, wow, this is such a big conversation. I think that there's something wrong with how white people know that when you're in Rome, you do what Romans do, but when they get to Africa, they want to do as they please. So we have to still unpack. I just feel as if Africans, we're not being assertive enough. We're not standing up for our things enough, And I think part of that when you've been oppressed so long, you get scared to stand up for yourself. But the only way in life you get respect is when you stand up tall. So I think that Africa as a whole has to have a moment of standing up tall, because we're not there yet.
Thank you for that.
Wow. Okay.
And I think we're going to wrap up on that note. So I really appreciate your contribution. I'm so grateful. Like I said, guys, we're going to have all her social media information, including her website. Please follow, buy some beads. We have to support a Black economy. That's part of the liberation movement, right? So you can't be liberated economically if you have to answer to somebody else at work. But I want to challenge us to be honest, because I think what I see in a lot of these conversations is dishonesty. In America, I don't know if this is in Africa, but when you are an alcoholic or a drug addict and you have to be treated, you go through this therapy process, and the first thing they ask you is to admit it. Admit you're an alcoholic. I think all of us, myself included, I'm not calling anybody out especially, have to admit that we suffer from anti-Blackness as a result of slavery, colonialism, and neocolonialism that we face today.
Yep.
So every now and then, you should be catching yourself, because I catch myself. And if you're not catching yourself, you're not being honest. That you suffer from anti-Blackness.
Yeah.
And when you realize you suffer from anti-Blackness, then it's your opportunity to deal with it. So my first expression of anti-Blackness in this area occurred when I was 10 years old, and I begged my mother to put a perm on my hair. My sister did the same thing, by the way. She had like this beautiful big black hair, but it was really long and it was beautiful, it was big. And, you know, she was doing the same thing, like, I can't handle all this here. And she was crying. So finally, my mom put a perm on my hair, and I think eventually her hair. And this went on from about the age of 11 to 13. And, you know, I didn't really think much about it until when I was 13 years old. A girl came to my school, and she had natural hair. And the kids teased her. And I looked around me and I realized nobody, and weaves weren't that big a deal back in those days. That was like almost 30 years ago now. But, you know, everybody had like a perm, or maybe like they would have like the braided weaves, but nobody had like just their hair. She was the only one. Everybody, I went to a predominantly Black school, teased her mercilessly. It wasn't white people doing this. It was Black people, Black children who had learned and internalized anti-Blackness by the time they were 13. And I knew at that moment something was wrong and that I needed to change. So I started asking my mom, you know, if I could just stop wearing the perm. But by that time, she was used to it, and she was like, you're keeping it. So on my first act of adulthood, when I became 18, was to shave my head and start over. And now that I hear all these excuses about why we can't wear our hair, what's interesting to me is how much we're lying. At least when I was young, we were honest about why we wear weaves. We didn't think our hair was as attractive, and we don't think our hair is manageable. Yeah. But now we've come up with all of these different, you know, reasons why we cannot do it that I didn't used to hear when I was a kid. So I want to address some of these. First, biggest one, and the seemingly most effective one is, you know, I need this hair for work. That may be true, but I can say, you know, being 40 years old now, having worn my natural hair in my adulthood my whole life, yes, there are occasionally white people who will discriminate. And we see these cases and we see lawsuits. We even see laws being passed. However, that is not the norm. I can speak to this from personal experience and from watching other people. You can get a job. And by the way, if all of us wore our natural hair, they can't fire all of us. They need us. They built their countries off of our labor. So the best thing you can do to keep them from doing this is to resist. Second, this protective style, not only is it ridiculous, it is patently untrue. I have seen Black women who wear weaves. They don't have edges. I have edges. They're getting gray, but I have edges. All of these women who are wearing hair to protect their hair have terribly damaged hair. They're protecting nothing. And how are you protecting something if you're wearing the same cover up 11 and a half months out of the year. You're protecting it for like the 2 weeks? That doesn't make sense. So the first thing we have to do is we have to stop being dishonest about why we're doing it. We have to confront the fact that all of us, in some ways, suffer from this disease of anti-Blackness. And once we do, we can put it to a stop. Sister, I'm going to let you, give us any concluding thoughts if you want to, and then we're going to close out.
I'm just so happy for finally having this conversation, and that it's coming at a time when Africans all over the world are creating a platform where we're speaking in one voice on one platform, outside of these mainstream BETs and MTVs or whatever. But now the Blacks are gathered by themselves on the side saying, guys, actually, something is not right. So I'm really happy that we're at that space, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of the conversation.
Thank you so much. Glad to have you here. So everybody needs to come on board. Everybody needs to join. So to take this continent forward, as we say in the Yoruba language, igi kan o le dagbo se, meaning that a tree does not make a forest. Let's join our hands together and make Africa great. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.